Flavio said it's private money. Well, actually, when it comes to theft, it doesn't matter if it's private money or public money. It's theft. The thief steals from the thief. It's stolen money. Isn't that right? It is. But still, we have to explain. It's not private money. It's public money. It's the retirees and pensioners' money because Vorcaro stole from the retirees and pensioners. It's the public servants' money from the states and municipalities where the public servants' own pension funds were also stolen by Daniel Vorcaro. So it's public money. Even if it were private. If it's private money, it's okay to steal. The thief can steal from another thief. Obviously not. Theft is theft. A thief is a thief. And to me, Grandma Vorcaro and Flávio Bolsonaro are the same kind. Thieves. And wherever they go, there's a scheme. And the scheme involves a lot of money. That's where their downfall is. Did you know that? What do you mean, Andrea Gonçalves? I'll explain it to you. This scheme was worth billions of reais. It was a lot of money. You know that thief who breaks into a house and can't manage to take everything? He gets caught because he tries to take too much, which makes him take too long to leave the house, right? So he gets caught because he wanted too many things. It's this scheme from Daniel Vorcaro's mafia. It was too much money. It was billions, billions, and billions and billions. Flávio Bolsonaro, I believe that when he saw the scheme, he said, I'm in. Ciro Nogueira, when he saw the scheme, he said, I'm in. Claudio Castro, former governor of Rio de Janeiro, who the federal police are at his house right now. I'll explain it to you. When he saw the scheme, he said, I'm in. And Ibanez Rocha, former governor of the federal district, when he saw the scheme, he said, I'm in. And they gorged themselves on millions and millions of reais and used this film to launder the money. Because here's the thing, if the criminal organization has a lot of money, it needs two structures. A structure of legal entities. And what is that, Andre? Companies. Companies everywhere. No matter what, there's a company for it or for making deals. And the other scheme fronts individuals, many of them owners of the companies, and who even open NGOs. Yeah, just to say that's what it is, nonprofit organizations to take in another kind of laundered money. And also religious organizations, I can't forget that. Religious organizations too. So you need legal entities, companies, you need individuals as fronts, and you need religious organizations. For what, Andre? To do the laundering. To launder the money. And since it's a lot of money, there's no way the federal police won't catch it. Thank you. Here is the downfall of this criminal organization. If they managed to steal a few million and then kept quiet, maybe it would be very difficult for the federal police to catch them. Because they wouldn't need so many people acting as fronts, they wouldn't need so many legal entities, companies, and they wouldn't need religious organizations, right? Because then they would use a smaller group to operate. And with that, it would be harder to catch the criminal organization. But since it was billions of reais, that's just too much. It leaves too much of a trail, too many people involved. So much so that there are people in jail. 21 people have already been arrested because of this Banco Master fraud case. A lot of people are only thinking about Daniel Vorcaro's plea deal. Daniel Vorcaro here, Daniel Vorcaro there, blah, blah, blah. Daniel Vorcaro's initial plea deal was rejected, as I already mentioned. So in itself, he didn't have a plea bargain. But there is a plea deal that's already far along.
Whose is it? Is it Andrea Gonçalves?
It's Paulo Henrique's. Who was the president of BRB, who is in jail? An ally here in the federal district circle in Brasilia of Ibanez Rocha, the Bolsonaro supporter and former governor of the federal district. There is a federal district circle, that's how I see it. There is a federal district circle tied to Brasilia. And who's its leader? Ibanez Rocha. And the plea bargain of the former president of BRB, who was used to inject more than 12 billion reais into Daniel Vorcaro's damned mafia, He's in jail and made a plea deal. And his plea deal hasn't been rejected so far. There's Claudio Castro's group in Rio de Janeiro, where all hell is breaking loose right now. Claudio Castro will be arrested soon. We knew it. Pay attention to this. We already knew that the former governor of Rio de Janeiro and all these are groups and political factions of whom? Of Flávio Bolsonaro. They're from the same party, the same political group as Flávio Bolsonaro in these areas. Claudio Castro, we knew that he had taken almost 1 billion reais and invested it in Daniel Vorcaro's mafia racket. Money from Rio Previdencia, from public servants who have their salaries deducted every month, the Social Security contribution, which goes to this fund to guarantee what? A retirement pension, a survivor's pension for the public servants, millions of public servants from the state of Rio de Janeiro. What did Claudio Castro do? He took the money from this fund, almost 1 billion. That's what we knew. Well, now we know that it's more than 3 billion reais, which he took from the public servants and injected into Daniel Vorcaro's racket. Andrea Gonçalves, but I don't understand. You're saying there's a scheme. They're the ones giving money to Vorcaro, but is it their own money? No, it's public money. Here's the scheme. They funnel public money to Daniel Vorcaro. BRB transferred more than 12 billion public money. The bank is public. Oh, Jorge, Claudio Castro transferred money. Now we already know it's more than 3 billion reais of public money to Daniel Vorcaro. And do you think there wasn't a bribe involved? This is a big kickback scheme. Then he would transfer the money to him and he would return part of the bribe to those political groups because it wasn't their money, my dear. It was public money. They didn't use their own money for Daniel Vorcaro. Vorcaro took it. They took the money from our taxes, contributions, fees, the taxes we pay, and shoved it into Daniel Vorcaro's damn scheme. And it was for free. Then they made up the movie to launder money and pay bribes. And some of that money was returned to the criminal organization which had sent the public money to Daniel Vorcaro. That's the scheme. It's not just about the movie. Now, if you tell me that this movie was worth 134 million, you have a cognitive problem. Mental. Because the movie, as the Financial Times itself, which is an English newspaper, said, is a comedy of errors. I've already told you about the guy's wig. It's obvious and noticeable. The wig isn't put on properly. It looks like a comedy. The guy has some mannerisms, obvious and noticeable. It looks like a comedy. So this isn't even a production worth 5 million. It's a shoestring production. So one possibility, in my view, is that the movie was used to launder money. And it wasn't just the movie. I told you that it's billions of reais. Several schemes were set up to use as a front. Laundering. To launder public money, to see if it would become legal so it could go into people's accounts for them to use. Because you say to me, Andre, but the money went to the movie. So I ask you, why didn't the money go to the entity responsible for the financial part of the movie, which is Entre Entretenimentos? Why did the money go to the account in the United States, in Texas, whose account holder is Paulo Carlisto, who is Eduardo Bolsonaro's lawyer? Laundering. Eduardo Bolsonaro likely had access to this money, especially since he was later revealed as one of those in charge of finances. He had authority over the film's finances. He was the production's executive director. There's a contract that Intercept revealed. So it's a big scheme. And today the federal police are there in the state of Rio de Janeiro. And not just in Rio de Janeiro, but in the federal district too. Only São Paulo was missing. Because I've already explained to you, this criminal organization of Daniel Vorcaro has branches, especially, I'm saying especially, why? Because we know that 18 municipalities have already injected money into Daniel Vorcaro's devilish fund. and 4 states. I'm talking especially about Rio de Janeiro, the federal district, and also São Paulo. São Paulo, the São Paulo city government under Ricardo Nunes, a Bolsonaro supporter from the same political group as Flávio and Bolsonaro, injected money into Karina Gama's devilish fund. Executive director of the film and owner of the production company Go Up, 108 million reais in a bidding contract that she won to provide a service she never delivered, and the payment was made in advance. She is the sole owner and partner of Go Up, the production company of the film Coincidencia. Oh, my innocent one who knows nothing, or rather doesn't want to know, because everything is right there to see. It's only a matter of time before everything falls apart and is revealed. And this Karina, look at her, she's just a big front. There's also an NGO, look. A museum I see brings people together, Tropics, congratulations. From budget amendments, from 5 federal deputies, all from the PL, from God, Homeland and Family, and roguery. Among them is one of the executive directors, who is the federal deputy Mario Frias, former Minister of Culture under Bolsonaro. Mario Frias, Marcos Polon, Bia Kicis, Carla Zambelli, and Alexandre Ramage transferred the amendment funds to this NGO. This Karina, the sole owner and proprietor of GOPE, are you going to tell or should I? GOPE has never produced a film. The company was created for the scheme. And they put Karina down as the owner, but whose trusted associate was she? Of Mario Frias, former Minister of Culture under Bolsonaro. She was there back in 2019. Back then, together with Mario Frias. The federal police is serving 10 search and seizure warrants in the federal district. And in Rio de Janeiro, the police, and the first one to receive a visit was exactly Claudio Castro. Claudio Castro, former governor of Rio de Janeiro, became governor of Rio de Janeiro thanks to the support of the Bolsonaro family, who put him there in the political arena. Claudio Castro is disqualified and ineligible, and he is being investigated in 2 organized crime schemes. The first scheme, the rapporteur, is Alexandre de Moraes. Regarding gas stations, several gas stations were opened there. Companies, look at the companies, to launder stolen money. Stolen money? And Claudio Castro, together with Ricardo Magro, who is already a fugitive in the United States. Money laundering scheme, together with the Comando Vermelho, together with the militia, and bid rigging, corruption, theft of public money. This is one of the schemes, and he's already been arrested. In this scheme, T.H. Joyas, former state representative, involvement with the Comando Vermelho, Rodrigo Bacelar, former president of the Legislative Assembly of Rio de Janeiro. Yesterday, I showed you the video, including him, together with Flávio Bolsonaro. He's from the same political group as Flávio Bolsonaro. Tiago is also under arrest, who is also a state legislator and is under investigation by the federal police. 2 former secretaries of Claudio Castro, in fact, one is under arrest and the other is under investigation by the federal police. Who recommended these 2 secretaries? Flávio Bolsonaro. Why did he recommend them, Andrea? Because they're in the same political group. Since they're from the same political group, when someone from your group gets a position in the executive branch, especially since the executive has many positions, like mayor, governor, and president of the republic. There are many positions, thousands of positions that the person has, the governor, the mayor, and the president. So when you're from the same political group as that person, you have the power to recommend. Like, I want you to appoint this person to this position. I want you to appoint this one to that position. I want you to appoint this one here and that one there, because they're from the same political group. And these two former secretaries of Claudio Castro were recommended by Senator Flávio Bolsonaro. One is already under arrest and the other is under investigation by the federal police. In fact, yesterday he was targeted in a federal police operation. And today, once again, the federal police are in Rio de Janeiro and went into Claudio Castro's house. This is the first gas station scheme involving Ricardo Magro, who is already on the run. And there's the Banco Master scheme with the operation happening today, where it was discovered that Claudio Castro didn't send $1 billion to Banco Master. No, he sent $3 billion to Banco Master. That Banco Master fraud, everyone already knew it was a huge scam. Shall we see Ticotico? Shall we see Ticotico here? They're at Claudio Castro's house. At the moment when the police arrived there, let's see here. It's a mansion, right? A giant mansion of Claudio Castro. I'll make it bigger so you can see it better. Let's get a better view, right? Everyone wants to see, look here, his little house.
The images that are being taken right now at the house of the former governor of Rio, Claudio Castro. Apparently, what we saw in the footage, Felipe Basil, our editor-in-chief, is here talking in my earpiece, is that it is apparently the former governor, Claudio Castro. He is there together with the federal police agents, whom we were able to identify at this moment through the images from Global Cop. We can see, look, the federal police agents are at the penthouse where the former governor of Rio lives. They are carrying out this search and seizure warrant. At least the information we have at the moment is that 10 search and seizure warrants are being carried out. We don't have confirmed information yet if any other type of warrant, such as an arrest warrant, is being carried out at this moment. The information we have is that this is an operation executing search and seizure warrants. These are the images being taken right now at the house of the former governor of Rio, Claudio Castro.
And the mafia organization is big, guys. It's really big. And these two schemes, pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. These two schemes from Rio de Janeiro, which have Claudio Castro as one of the main suspects, Flávio is associated with them. There's no way Flávio isn't associated. Why, Andrea? Because it was the Bolsonaro family who brought Claudio Castro into politics in Rio de Janeiro. The Bolsonaro family already knew the crook and the bum. That's why he was placed there. He was in on the scheme. Just so you know, Rodrigo Bacelar, who was the president of the Legislative Assembly, had already received the medal from Bolsonaro, the unfloppable, the undying, and he had already been chosen as Claudio Castro's successor. Who, Andrea? The Bolsonaro family had already chosen Claudio Castro's successor, and everything was arranged with Claudio Castro. Just so you know, for Claudio Castro to appoint Rodrigo Bacelar, who is in jail, as his successor. He's been removed from office, is ineligible, and is in jail. That was before he was arrested. What did Claudio Castro do to obey the Bolsonaro family? He targeted his vice governor because he was going to step down from his position to run for the Senate. So when he stepped down from his position until April 4th, which just passed, who would take over? His vice governor. So his vice governor wouldn't take over, then who would take over, Andrea? The next in the line of succession, according to the Constitution, which would be who? The president of the Legislative Assembly. And who was the president of the Legislative Assembly? Rodrigo Bacelar. Then, to take his vice out of the picture, so that Rodrigo Bacelar would be his successor, he appointed his vice as a member of the Rio de Janeiro State Court of Accounts. So his vice was out of the game in 2025. He was appointed as a member of the Rio de Janeiro State Court of Accounts. Because for the guy to leave the vice position, he must have gotten something really good out of it. If he became a secretary, if he took any other position, it would be temporary. His vice wouldn't want that. So what did he do? He gave the best position within the structure of the state municipality, which is what, Andre? Member of the State Court of Accounts. Why, Andre? Because it's a lifetime position. What, Andre? It's a lifetime position. He will never leave again. And the salary is at the pay ceiling for a justice of the Federal Supreme Court, almost 50,000 reais, where the guy has almost the status of a minister, with a bunch of advisors, with an office, everything. And I repeat, it's for life. Then his deputy, when he saw that, said, no, I want to be a member of the State Court of Accounts. I'll take that one. Then his deputy went in 2025 and took the position of member of the Rio de Janeiro State Court of Accounts. Then he opened up the position. And who was going to take over? Rodrigo Bacelar, the president of the Legislative Assembly. But he didn't expect that the federal police would come down hard on the criminal organization that was already under investigation. Then, the first one to be arrested was T.H. Joyas, involved with the Red Command, a state representative, all from the same political group. Do you want to know who's going to be arrested next soon? Want to guess? It's the one who got Silas Malafaya's blessing, Douglas Rua. I'll tell you more in a bit. So what happened? The federal police came down hard and arrested State Representative T.H. Joyas. Then after that, who did they arrest? Rodrigo Bacelar. Involvement with the militia, Comando Vermelho, and a scheme to steal from Claudio Castro's administration. The next one to be arrested, Claudio Castro and maybe Douglas Ruas too, who is from the same political group that took Rodrigo Bacelar's place. They're all from the same political group as Flávio Bolsonaro. And I repeat, this whole scheme was arranged with the Bolsonaro family for Rodrigo Bacelar to take over as soon as Claudio Castro stepped down. On April 4th, if he stepped down, Rodrigo Bacelar would take over. Why? Because he would have the power in his hands and he could run for governor of the state of Rio de Janeiro, and very likely he would win with the whole scheme organized and with the Rio de Janeiro government machine in his hands. But then the federal police moved in on the scheme and now everything is falling apart. The TSE also got involved, revoked, and made Claudio Castro ineligible, as well as Rodrigo Bacelar himself, who I repeat is in prison. That's why I say and repeat to you, there's no way Flávio isn't involved in these schemes, in both schemes in Rio de Janeiro. Why? Because it's his political group in which several secretaries were appointed by the Bolsonaro family, Flávio Bolsonaro, and who are now being targeted by the federal police. One of the secretaries is already under arrest, already in jail. The other one, who is from the consumer department, has also become a target of the federal police. So there's no way he could be out of this scheme, you know? Let's hear from Congressman Freiso, who is from Rio de Janeiro and knows the reality of Rio de Janeiro very well. And he can even speak with more authority about everything that's happening in Rio de Janeiro. A very dangerous criminal organization within the state itself, involving judges, federal police, civil police, military police, and several others. Let's take a look here.
Good morning to those who didn't have the federal police knocking on their door at 6 a.m. That's exactly the case with former Governor Claudio Castro. The federal police are inside the former governor's house investigating the money from Rio Previdencia, 1 billion reais that former Governor Claudio Castro, in an improper and criminal way, put into Banco Master. The biggest banking and financial fraud scheme in Brazil's history, kept the money of our retirees, of our public servants, and Claudio Castro did this even against the guidance of the State Court of Auditors. He took the retirees' money and put it into this fraudulent Banco Master scheme. Well, at this moment, the bill has come due for Claudio Castro, and it actually didn't take that long, but the federal police are at his house once again. If I'm not mistaken, it's the second time this month. It's becoming routine. It's a sign that you, Claudio Castro, might once again fulfill this recent sad fate of the state of Rio de Janeiro of having another governor arrested. It's not like you weren't warned. I myself warned several times that the rigged election you won in 2022 would lead Rio de Janeiro to repeat this scene. Federal police at the former governor's house, and I have no doubt that soon you will be arrested too. Now, it's really cowardly to take money from our public servants, from our retirees, and put it into this fraudulent scheme that you knew was tied to Banco Master. Anyway, congratulations. Once again, the federal police, and this is the Rio de Janeiro that we need to turn the page on. Good morning, that's it.
Then you say Andre, but he made a coup-mongering statement, fake show. He questioned Claudio Castro's election. And you say that the winner takes all. So no, that's not it. He said it was a rigged election because Claudio Castro hired more than 7,000 campaign workers paid with public money. That's why he was ruled against by the Superior Electoral Court, which declared him removed from office and ineligible. Okay, it was because of that. Frakso even reported this situation. During the election, Claudio Castro hired more than 7,000 campaign workers who were paid with public money. He used a shell company and hired those campaign workers. That's why he said it was a rigged election. Too bad the Superior Electoral Court only ruled on this at the end of his term. Because if the Superior Electoral Court had ruled on this at the beginning of Claudio Castro's term, he would have been removed from office and declared ineligible. But the Superior Electoral Court didn't want to pick that fight and only ruled on this at the beginning of this year, declaring him removed from office and ineligible. He resigned beforehand to try to avoid having his mandate revoked, but the TSE did not consider his resignation legitimate and saw it exactly as an attempt to dodge having his mandate revoked. And the TSE didn't accept this maneuver. Do you remember all of this that I explained to you? That's why Frakso said his election was fraudulent. Did you understand? That's it. Taliria Petrone is also a federal lawmaker from Rio de Janeiro. And she can also speak with more authority about what's happening there in Rio de Janeiro. Take a look here.
The federal police are now at the luxury apartment of former Governor Claudio Castro, conducting a search and seizure for what reason? To investigate billions from Rio de Janeiro retirees that were deposited by the governor into Vorcaro's Banco Master. It's no coincidence. Flávio Bolsonaro and Claudio Castro are allies. They're from the same party, and they have the same deadly agenda, attacking workers. We need to rid Rio de Janeiro and Brazil of this gang.
The federal police will handle it, as everything suggests. Claudio Castro is likely the next to be arrested. You can write it down. Claudio Castro arrested now. Put it that way. And I told you that Valdemar Costa Neto turned in Flávio Bolsonaro. Valdemar Costa Neto, I just showed you now. He said that Flávio Bolsonaro went to Daniel Vorcaro's house. Daniel Vorcaro had just gotten out of prison and was on parole with an ankle monitor. Passport seized due to the multi-billion fraud involving Banco Master and BRB. He went there, according to Flávio, for what? To put an end to the relationship. But actually, the president of the PL said he went there to collect. He went there to demand more money from Daniel Vorcaro. Who said that? The president of the PL, Valdemar Costa Neto. There were some statements. Shall we take a look at some statements about this and put it up there? Lula's fourth win. Evil collapses on its own. What do we have to do, Andrea? Pray, anoint ourselves, and show the truth. But evil collapses on its own. And this Bolsonaro family is gradually falling, and by itself. Shall we see some comments about this? And because of that, I'll tell you right now, it's Lula's fourth win. And that's something I'll explain to you in a moment. Flávio Bolsonaro is not on the junk lady's schedule. Oh my goodness, I think my theory is going to turn out to be true. Which theory, Andrea? He didn't actually go there, in fact, to meet with the junk lady. He went there to coordinate stories and conversations with Eduardo Bolsonaro in the scheme involving the money that came from Vorcaro. That's what he went there to do, and also to prepare the backup escape plan. He didn't go to Tavina or anywhere to talk to Donald Trump because most likely Donald Trump won't meet with him. Donald Trump just published his schedule for next week. Actually, for this week, he just published his schedule and Flávio is not on it. In a moment, I'll show you that. Now, let's see some reactions to this statement from the president of the PL, Valdemar Costa Neto, saying that Flávio Bolsonaro went to collect money from Daniel Vorcaro at the meeting he had at his house with him, with Daniel Vorcaro, and that this video will leak at any moment. And the bombshell will drop, especially if there's audio. It's over. The house of cards will fall. But let's not scare anyone. Let's not scare anyone now. Let them register the candidacy. I'm telling you this. Let it be. Let the humiliating one get caught in the net. If it gets caught in the net, it's fair game. Calm down, calm down, calm down, because if we scare him, he'll run away before it's time. And we don't want that, do we? That's true. Let's see here. Congressman Rogério Correia.
It really was a bribe, folks, the money that Vorcaro gave to Flávio Bolsonaro. And in that video, Flávio Bolsonaro is asking for more bribes. Today, Valdemar da Costa Neto, president of the PL, made that very clear.
He went to visit later to see if he could get the rest of the money.
Flávio went back to Vorcaro's house. He was under house arrest with an ankle monitor to ask for more money, the rest of the money. If you do the math just from Rio Previdencia, it was $2 billion that left the Rio government public servant pension money and went to Vorcaro's Banco Master. Who brokered this? Flávio Bolsonaro. That's what people are saying, and it will be proven. Do the math. 10% of $2 billion is 200 million. That's the calculation, 150 million that Flávio Bolsonaro was asking Vorcaro for. That's the bribe amount. Look, this guy, Flávio Bolsonaro, running for president of the Republic is absurd because he should actually be in jail. And you'll see when that fund from the United States, which was even managed for a while by Eduardo Bolsonaro and later by Eduardo Bolsonaro's lawyer, when that's opened up, you'll see where that money went. It's the Bolsonaro family. And Bolsonaro and Bolsonarism being supported by Master. That's why back during the CPMI of the INSS, we said it's Bolsonaro Bolsa Master. The way Bolsonarism found to use public money to finance far-right policies in Brazil. Now, things are very clear. Only those who want to believe it do. The coup already happened.
Yeah, I always told you guys here, remember? I always said, guys, you have to follow the money. It doesn't make sense, that much money. Andre, but Bolsonaro received, I don't know how many millions in transfers. Even that needs to be investigated. If you think about it, even behind those transfers we joke about here, those transfers, right, Nicholas, that Bolsonaro received, there might even be Daniel Vorcaro behind it. Because Daniel Vorcaro benefited a lot during Bolsonaro's government because he actually managed to turn it into a real bank during Bolsonaro's government, with Campos Neto as president of the central bank, which authorized it to operate. That way, he was able to start the fraud using a bank handling billions of reais during Bolsonaro's government. With Bolsonaro's Minister of Social Security, Onyx Lorenzoni, he managed to get into the INSS scheme and started making illegal deductions from retirees and pensioners. He is also involved in the INSS fraud. All of this happened during Bolsonaro's government. Banco Master and Daniel Vorcaro became worth billions during Bolsonaro's government, which opened the doors for the bank to operate as Banco Master, which opened the doors for Banco Master to make deductions from retirees and pensioners with Onyx Lorenzoni. That's where the doors were opened. It's no coincidence that Fabiano Zettel, who is the main financial agent of Daniel Vorcaro, who is in jail, is also in jail. He donated 3 million reais to Bolsonaro in October 2022. And he donated 2 million reais to Tarcísio de Freitas, Bolsonaro's main ally at the time. Also for the elections, it was not without reason that Daniel Vorcaro lent a jet worth more than 200 million reais so that Nicolas Ferreira, in the interval between the first round, the first Sunday of October, and the last Sunday of October 2022, Nicolas Ferreira, in that interval, made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trips on the high-end private jet from Daniel Vorcaro. Thank you. For what, Andrea? To campaign for Bolsonaro. They had a direct interest in Bolsonaro being reelected because Bolsonaro was the big scheme that made it possible for the fraud and Banco Master to exist and take part in all the fraudulent schemes that existed at the time and still exist. And now it's all coming down. From the INSS fraud to the Banco Master Mafia. And now we find out about another one, that Bolsonaro's son. Senator Flávio Bolsonaro had the power to demand millions of reais from Daniel Vorcaro. He wasn't asking, he was collecting. And I don't believe that money went to the movie. The movie was just a Trojan horse to cover up and say, look, the money went to the movie. No, the movie was used to launder money to pay bribes for this criminal organization of the Bolsonaro family and their cronies. Stipulation in the federal district in Sao Paulo and in Rio de Janeiro. That's what is happening, and that's what happened in my view. Lindenberg Farias also talked about this revelation from the president of the PL, Valdemar Costa Neto, saying that Flávio Bolsonaro met with Daniel Vorcaro to demand more money from him. A bombshell revelation that he gave yesterday on Globo News. Let's see Lindenberg Farias here. Talking about this new revelation we had from the president of the PL, Valdemar Costa Neto. Pay attention here and like the live stream.
National President of the PL, Valdemar Costa Neto, tells the whole truth about Flávio Bolsonaro's meeting with Vorcaro. Check it out.
And he wanted to end the relationship with Vorcaro. Like, are you going to pay me? Are you going to pay the rest? Can you pay the rest or not?
But even knowing that Vorcaro was shady.
Yeah, well, what can you do?
How wonderful, Flávio Bolsonaro and Valdemar da Costa Neto. They should give interviews every day. The more they talk, the more they get tangled up. Urgente, the national president of the country.
And as I always say here, it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning of the whole scheme, right? And the federal police are out on the streets. Catch the thief. The question that remains, Andrea, who's going to get away with it? It's hard to know. Meanwhile, yesterday, the end of the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule was almost approved. It's in the special committee now, you know, right? Or the proposed constitutional amendment to end the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule. If you're a worker, for every 5 days you work, you will have 2 well-deserved days off, as it should be. It was almost approved. Everything was ready. Everything approved, the report and so on. Then a congressman from PL showed up. Yeah, God, country, family, country, and well, lots of money in their pockets and no shame. A congressman from PL showed up. I'll show you the face of the crook, and requested a review. Does that even make any sense? These Bolsonaristas, you can't forget, folks. A PL congressman doesn't defend workers. They don't defend the people. If you vote for a PL congressman and you are a regular person, a worker, poor, really poor, the problem isn't him. The problem is you. The stupidity is yours. Because everyone knows and we show it and all that stuff. Should we check out this shamelessness? Look here, see. Mauricio Marcon of the PL from Rio Grande do Sul. A maneuver by PL postpones the vote on the PEC to end the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule in the chamber. A congressman asked for more time to review it, postponing the vote on the PC that reduces the work week from 44 hours to 40 hours and ends the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule to Wednesday, the 27th. So put that name there, okay? Mauricio Marcon of the PL from Rio Grande do Sul will never be elected again. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. You from Rio Grande do Sul, you have a moral duty to share what I'm explaining here. The others, if you want to share, you can share. I even ask you to share because there's a lot of important information. But you from Rio Grande do Sul, you have a moral duty and write like this, traitor to the people. And write his name now, right there, traitor to the people. Mauricio. Marcon, traitor to the people, traitor to workers. Mauricio Marcon, you can put it there. I'm waiting for you to put it. And I know he's from Rio Grande do Sul. Share this so that this guy is never elected again and isn't reelected this October. Why did I say that? Smash the like button, like, comment, and share. Much love. See you later.